Morning guys, it is Friday, July 8th, and today is my 50th vlog. It's crazy to imagine that I've been doing this already for that long. I appreciate you guys' support all along the way. I hope these are getting a lot better. I think they are, and a lot of people have told me they are, so I'm glad that you guys are enjoying them and that I'm getting better at these. I hope they're really useful to you guys, but anyways, for this vlog, I wanted to do a Q&A, so throughout the day, I'm going to be answering questions that you guys have left me, both on Twitter and on YouTube. So I'm going to start with some easy ones. Kendra Moyers asks, what kind of iMac do you have? And I had a 27-inch 2012 iMac with 16 gigabytes of RAM and 1 terabyte, and I think it was a 3.2 gigahertz, I believe. JR Ingram asked, you mentioned you're using Squarespace to develop your client site. I noticed you were using Photoshop to design the site though. What's the relationship and process you use to design and convert to an SP hosted site? So SP is Squarespace, I'm assuming. I don't usually use Photoshop when I'm using Squarespace to make a website. The only reason that I did it for this specific project is because the client asked for it. They wanted the raw source files after I was finished, so they wanted a design in Photoshop so that I could send that to them, and if they ever want to move away from Squarespace, they can have something to kind of base that off of. So typically I would just do wireframes and then go straight into Squarespace, but for that I had to do Photoshop files. He didn't even allow sketch files, unfortunately, so had to do that, and I still actually have to design a couple of the pages. I did only the home page in design first, and then I'm finishing up the pages on Squarespace, and then I'm going to convert them into Photoshop files. So I'm heading to work now, and like I said, I'm going to be answering questions throughout the day, so I'll see you guys in a bit. Hey guys, so I'm checking the Olive really quick. I thought I'd take some time to answer a few more questions. So Cody asked, what suggestions do you have for building a startup company? That's a hard one. It depends what kind of company you're trying to start. If it's something that you need investment, that I'm definitely not the person to ask. I like to make businesses that don't require any outside investment from like angel investors or anything like that, just because I want to avoid giving away any of the company that I have. But if you're talking about in terms of small startups that don't need investment, just doing your research and finding mentors that, mentor doesn't necessarily have to be somebody that you talk to like personally, but just somebody that you look up to and stuff, and kind of studying the way that they do things helped me a lot when it came to starting businesses and best practices and things like that, and just learning from people older than you and asking them questions and things like that. So Lady C 2090 asked a couple questions. One was, I wanted to know, which CMS do you prefer to use for a portfolio for a graphic design student? So I personally prefer using WordPress along with Semplus Labs. Their website is semplislabs.com, I believe, and you can go check them out. It's a really cool back-end like an add-on to your WordPress CMS. It's super helpful. Look into it. It's really easy to use if you guys want to have it to build a portfolio without having to do code. Another question by her is, and also, what techniques did you use to learn graphic design after class when you were in school? The main thing that I used was YouTube, honestly. I went through a lot of YouTube tutorials, and time after time you just pick up things from different tutorials that you're watching. That was the main thing that I used when I was first starting, and also reading books, reading articles, doing research, things like that. Another question from her, did you make up graphic design briefs to help you work on graphic design techniques? Yes, I did. I think that is very important. I'm actually going to make a video pretty soon about how to build your portfolio, and part of this is making up your own design briefs. So if you limit yourself to freelance work and things like that, you're going to be ending up getting more work that isn't 100% what you want to do. So what I recommend is making fake design briefs based on what you want to be doing. So in terms of if you want to do branding or illustration and things like that. And then use those briefs that you make up yourself and go about the process the way that you know is the best way to do it from research, and just fleshing out things like that, that's a great way to learn and build a portfolio. And then her last question was, on a personal note, since you're moving to St. Louis, will you be getting a new job as a designer or still working at Satchel Health in a remote position or such? I will still be working with Satchel Health and just working as a remote position. That's one of the big things that led me to work at that place, is that they would allow me to work remote. So I'll be working remote. Jeremy asked, what advice do you have for designers getting work without relevant job experience? And if you could do it all over again, what would you do anything differently? So the first part of that is kind of difficult. I think that goes back to what I was just talking about making design work in terms of what you want to be doing. Making up your own design briefs is very helpful for things like that. And just kind of finding things that are skills that you learned in the other field that you were working in and applying them to this graphic design world, and how you can apply that and sell yourself to businesses like that. And then the second part of that question, if you could do it all over again, would you do anything differently? You know, I'm someone that likes to believe that everything happens for a reason. I don't really like to regret anything, and usually everything that's happened to me personally has always worked out for the better. You know, in the moment I've felt that I've had a regret about a few things sometimes, but in the long run, you know, looking back on that, I kind of appreciate that things happen the way that they do, because I usually learn something or something better comes out of that. So I think that's it for the questions right now. I'm gonna go back to work, and then later on today, I'm gonna answer the rest of the questions that I got on Twitter. So I'll catch you guys in a bit. Hey guys, so it's a couple hours later. I finished work, went to dinner with my coworkers actually, and now I'm home. I'm about to start working on some freelance stuff, and then tomorrow I'm gonna continue to do that and hopefully finish it up. But I wanted to finish off today's vlog with a couple more questions, since obviously this is a Q&A. How do you keep a good work/play/life balance? We often see you working on vlogs, but you always seem to have enough breaks. This is something that I talked about in one of my previous vlogs not too long ago, a couple vlogs ago. It's definitely something that I struggle with, but I do not sleep very much, which is part of the reason why I'm still able to get breaks and stuff. And also, being able to organize yourself and using your time wisely is super important. So what I usually do is, after work, I get home and I take like a 2-hour break, and then I work for a couple hours, and then I take like another hour or two break before I go to bed, and then I go to sleep and repeat the process over again. So finding that time and using your time wisely is very important, and you need to be able to moderate that for yourself. So another question from Jeffrey that is kind of a long-winded question, but I'm gonna try to answer it really shortly, is how did you get into this industry? We know you came in later than most, so why do it when you're so late? And what inspired you to keep it going and staying motivated? So I have a huge story behind how I got into design and stuff, but just to keep it short, I actually started through YouTube. I used to do a lot of design stuff for like video game clans things. I think that's how a lot of designers get into design actually. And my love for that just came from that kind of stuff and that community and things like that. And then a couple years later, just like actually 2 years later, I discovered the tech scene. And even though I was late into the design world, I wasn't really that late. I mean, I was 18 when I started designing. I got my first job at 19. So I mean, I wasn't that late into the game, I don't think. What kept me motivated is just how much I really loved design. And the lifestyle around design and the community around design is something that I'm very passionate about and very appreciative for. So it's something that I wanted to be a part of. So I worked really hard to make sure that I was getting into it. And I was getting into it for the right reasons and things like that. So that's kind of a short answer to that. I'll make sure to touch on that again in a future vlog. And the last question is from Melvin. And he says, at what age did you realize you liked designing? And at what age did you start being serious on it? So that kind of goes back to that previous answer. I realized that I liked designing at 18 years old. Like I said, I started with YouTube stuff. just making like the art channel banner thing, I forget what it's called. And then the age that I started being serious on it was probably around 19 or a little bit before I turned 19. And then a little bit after that is when I got my job. So I got really serious about it and it paid off for me. And then if we're referring to like the tech world, I didn't start getting serious about the tech world until I was probably about 20. I still wanted to do like agency stuff at that point. A little bit of like, you know, tech, like web design stuff, but not really like working for a startup. I didn't really want to do that until about a year ago when I turned 20. Well, 2 years ago. I'm about to be 22. But yeah, so when I was 20, I definitely wanted to get serious into the tech scene because I realized, you know, like the lifestyle around it, the community around it, and things like that is just something that really resonated with me and something that I really fell in love with. And you know, being able to work remote, things like that, like there's just a lot of things around it that made me love it and want to be serious about it. So yeah, that's about it for the questions. Again, this was vlog number 50. I appreciate all you guys that have been around since whatever vlog you started on, or if you've been here from day one. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys sticking with me and you know, being patient with me as I improve and get better at these things. Like I've said before, when I move, these vlogs are going to be amazing, I think. So hopefully you guys are around for that. You know, I'm going to be around here still vlogging. I really, really love vlogging. I love communicating with you guys, being able to share my thoughts on things. So really appreciate your guys' support again. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.